Hello, I'm Joseph Dillard. Welcome to the IDL Video Curricula. In this video, I want to share with you a bit of background on how and why Dream Sociometry was created. What follows is an overview of how integral deep listening developed as an elaboration of two factors: my frustration with traditional approaches to interpreting dreams, and my discovery that dream characters were much better able to interpret dreams than I was, and in the process to provide extremely useful life direction for people of all ages with all sorts of life issues. I had been working with dreams since I was 13, mostly through the symbolic and interpretive approaches of the Edgar Cayce readings and Carl Jung. I started leading dream groups in my late adolescence, and then teaching dream work as well in my 20s. However, I was dissatisfied with my approach. I felt like I was presenting myself as a false authority, providing interpretations that were not those of the dreamer, but my own projections. It didn't feel honest or authentic. What did I know about their dream? I know a lot about symbols, universal symbols and archetypes, and I could make educated guesses. But even if the dreamer found them useful or satisfying, how accurate were they? How would I know? This was my predicament up into my late 20s, when I had the good fortune to learn something called sociometry. Sociometry is the foundation of integral deep listening interviewing. It is based on psychiatrist J.L. Marino's sociometry. Marino is famous for creating psychodrama, most action therapeutic methods, and coining the term group psychotherapy, and also for being a major creative source of Fritz Perls' Gestalt therapy. At present, the word sociometry has been hijacked and largely refers to a much broader field than was Marino's intent, but that's another story. Marino's sociometry is based on the idea that if the preferences of the members of a group are collected regarding a task, those preferences can be used to reorganize the group for better performance. For example, a group of kids can be asked, who in the class would you most like to study math with? Who would you least like to study math with? These preferences can be collected in a grid called a sociomatrix, and those preferences can be tabulated and posted in a diagram called a sociogram, which visually depicts who in the group is most and least chosen, the stars and rejects, as well as those who mutually prefer each other, those who mutually reject one another, and those who are not chosen at all, called isolates. I learned sociometry from Dr. Joe Hart at the University of Arkansas School of Social Work in Little Rock in 1977 and 78 when I was 27 and working on my master's degree in clinical social work. After I graduated, I founded a chronic pain treatment program in Little Rock. Joe called me one day and asked me if I could do a presentation on the relationship between sociometry and pain treatment. I thought for a moment and said, I don't know, Joe, but I think I can put something together on the relationship between sociometry, pain treatment, and dreams. My thought was, what if I were to interview different characters in a dream, as if they were members of a group, collect their preferences in a sociomatrix, and plot them in a sociogram? What might that tell me about pain and health? I began creating such sociomatrices, which I called Dream Sociomatrices, and sociograms called Dream Sociograms. I was astonished at what I found. The patterns of preference of interviewed dream characters commonly differed from my own and from each other in ways I could not predict. They created patterns of relationship depicted in the dream sociograms that were more complex, sophisticated, and nuanced than I could predict. I was fascinated. How was it that so many autonomous perspectives existed within me? What did these various relationships, previously hidden from me, indicate? I created over 100 Dream Sociometrics and sociograms over the next 2 or so years, between about 1980 and 1983, trying to figure out what was going on. I was skeptical and did not trust what I was seeing and learning. Was this some sort of delusion? Was I simply projecting my preferences onto these perceived, interviewed perspectives? How and why did they often express so much autonomy? I elaborated the questioning process to ask characters to describe themselves, their strengths and weaknesses, what aspects of myself they most closely personified, whether or not they wished to change, and if so, how. If they would change the dream, would they want to? And if so, how? If they would how would they deal with this or that life issue I was facing? This information constituted interpretations that were provided by perspectives embedded in this or that dream. I realized that these perspectives were much more likely to have a considered and relevant interpretation of a dream than I was, because they were embedded and invested in it at a depth that I generally was not, even if I was the dreamer. I found the interpretations not only of dream characters, but of dream objects like telephones and otters relevant and helpful, regardless of how absurd or irrelevant I was sure some character was. When I experimented with applying these recommendations in my life, I found that they moved me toward greater balance and inner peace. After about 2 years, I started using Dream Sociometry with a few of my clients in my practice at the Association for Research and Enlightenment Holistic Medical Clinic in Phoenix, Arizona. I was again amazed at what I found. One lady who had been agoraphobic and housebound for years and was so knowledgeable about treatment methodologies that she published a monthly newsletter for agoraphobics was able to leave her house after about 6 weeks of using Dream Sociometry. I found that people with recurring dreams no longer had them, with as few as 1 session of Dream Sociometry, and that people with post-traumatic stress disorder stopped having waking and dreaming nightmares and were able to resume a normal life after about the same period of time. Why? My theory was that the identification with multiple other authentic perspectives thinned the self while reframing fear in ways that were no longer threatening. Identity thinned and expanded at the same time that perceptions of stimuli as threatening were being reduced. I started using the process with couples and people with depression and addictions. I found that while the process was hardly a cure-all, that people generally became more aware of how and why they were stuck and acting as their own worst enemy. Getting people to act on that knowledge and change ingrained thinking patterns of feeling and behavior was a completely different issue, and other conjoint approaches, such as an ongoing support to provide structure and accountability, script analysis, understanding of the drama triangle, cognitive distortions and biases, goal setting, assertiveness, pranayama, and meditation were important for dealing with chronic life issues. I found that I could treat life issues as if they were dreams, generate personifications of associated emotions, and interview them as if they were dream characters, to great effect. I also found that few people would hold still for interviewing multiple characters, and so I created single character interviewing formats for both dream characters and life issues, as well as protocols for adolescents, adults, and children. Dream Sociometry raises major psychological and philosophical questions about who we are, why we are here, and what it means to create a healthy, balanced, and transformative life. In various videos in this curricula, I attempt to raise and address some of those questions and implications. For those who are interested in getting into the nuts and bolts of dream sociometry, I have published 2 books on the topic, Dream Sociometry and Understanding the Dream Sociogram through Routledge in 2017. I also have created a series of videos that step you through the process of dream sociometry using one of my own dreams as an example. You can find that series as well as the entire IDL Video Curricula at integraldeeplistening.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time.